everybody, my name's Ashley Jones and I'm the Event Director, and welcome to Marketing Showcase Online's third webinar of today, and it's presented by James and Matthew from Mabo, who are PPC agency based in the Northeast. They'll be talking today on how to create an award-winning Google Ads account. Sorry, apologies for starting a couple of minutes late. We just had to get a few technical things sorted, but thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to run through this intro really quick so we can get on with today's talk. Please say hello in the chat function just to let me know you're there. I'd love to see you guys talking and use that to chat to me throughout the presentation. Anything that's going on with today's event, give us your feedback and let's start the conversation. Separate to that, you've got the Q&A function. I've got a feeling that this talk is going to bring up lots of questions, so please use that and I will ask them of our speakers towards the end of the talk. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Matthew and James from Mabo, who will be talking about how to create an award-winning Google Ads account.
Thanks very much, Ashley. Really pleased to be here. Thanks for having us. Yes, myself and James join us. Say hello, James.
Hello, James.
Let's crack on. So, yeah, as Ashley mentioned, we're presenting. We are going to give a
present your emails at the moment, mate.
nutshell version of the talk. Is that good now, James? You got the
no, it's your calendar now.
Oh dear. Bear with me one moment.
Let's get your presentation up, son.
Got me now?
Let's have a look. The anticipation's killing me here. Just seeing you now, Matthew.
Oh, 2 seconds, James. I'll get that sorted. Just give everyone a bit of background on what we're going to talk about then. We are going to be giving a talk on how to write an award-winning Google Ads ad copy, looking at the various aspects of that. So we're going to be looking at, we're going to kick off with writing ad copy. We're going to be looking at utilising the correct audiences, and then we're going to be looking at how to use smart bidding to the best effect, and finally going to kick it, round it off with looking at peak seasons and that sort of thing. So let's just give this one last quick go. How to...
Here we go.
Not sure how that happened, but there we go. So if I wait for this to load, 2 seconds. There we go. So just to give you guys a little bit of an introduction to who we are, really, just before we kind of crack on with everything in terms of the content of the deck, we are going to, as I say, run you through how to write an award-winning Google Ads account. But who are Mabo? Mabo are an award-winning specialist PPC agency coming from the northeast of England, as Ashley said. Specifically, the epicenter of cultural progression is Middlesbrough. You can tell from mine and James' accent, we're thick Middlesbrough accents. And today, as I say, we're going to be looking at Google Ads. Now, what is Google Ads? For those of you that maybe aren't aware, or for those of you that have maybe heard, Google Ads been discussed in the past. It's pretty much all-encompassing of all of these things. So we are talking about paid search, we're talking about search engine marketing, we're talking about performance marketing, AdWords management. You'll have heard of it, I dare say, in the marketing aspect. You'll have heard a lot of these things being mentioned. It's all the same thing. It is essentially, the purpose of it is to drive high-quality traffic from Google into your website, and for that to convert into maybe leads or into sales and e-commerce, for whatever it is that your business goals are. Now, there are various channels of advertising. You can see here the 4 main ones through Google. We've got search, shopping, display, and video. Now, today we're going to be mainly focusing on search, which revolves around keywords and text-based ads. But there are other sort of facets of the Google Ads platform. You'll maybe be familiar with the shopping tab that you'll see when you're using Google. You've got the display network, which is those annoying remarketing ads that you sometimes see when you're on a website, and then 2 minutes later you're on a different website and you see the product you've just viewed. And you've also got video, which is, some people like to think of them as the annoying YouTube adverts that you get before the video that you really want to watch. Now, when done correctly, all of these can be done, very, very well. They are very, very key aspects to many businesses' online overall marketing. But like I said, today we're going to mainly be focusing on search, and the more bidding and the sort of the targeting that goes along with that. So the first area we're going to focus on is writing good ad copy. But before I kind of get into that, what we're going to do is there's 4 main works, as I said, writing good ad copy, utilising the right audiences, using peak seasons to your best advantage, and we're going to be looking at smart bidding. But before we go any further, just to mention, where we're concerned, where Mabo concerned, we do have a little goodie bag. We've got the in the Q&A feature. If you just type yes please, Ashley will make all of this happen in terms of how it's going to work. The goodie bag, I think, involves a Mabo branded notepad and pen, a guide to smart bidding, which is our kind of case study guide of it's called a smarter way to bid. And you will also be entitled to, if you're an existing advertiser, a free Google Ads review. So if at any point
there's a lot going in now,
today,
Matthew. Everyone wants some.
I know. Well, once you offer something for free, everyone's there, aren't they? But if at any point of anything that I mentioned today or something that James mentions, you think, oh, that rings true for me, or I'd need to know a bit more about that, then yeah, type yes please. You'll get this little cool goodie bag. Ashley will sort you out with that, and we'll be happy to sort of answer any questions after that. So yeah, let's kick off with writing good ad copy. And in order to, I bet you didn't think you'd see that when you joined a webinar about Google Ads, but in order to master and understand writing good ad copy, we need to understand what Cluck is. Now, Cluck is something that we at Mabo have devised. It's not like a typical Google Ads industry sort of benchmark or anything, but it's something that we devised actually to train our staff. Because my role at Mabo is that of training all of our staff in terms of their initial journey from you know, if they've got zero experience to train them up to be, you know, fully fledged account managers and so on. And we use this to train them guys. We thought it'd be useful to help you guys understand the aspects of writing good ad copy. So Cluck is made up of the following elements. The C is capitalisation and punctuation. I know there's no P in there, but never mind. Capitalisation and punctuation is basically making sure that every first letter of every ad has a capital letter, and obviously that the headlines and the description lines are punctuated in the correct mannerism. The second part of Cluck, the L, is landing page accuracy. Now, this is absolutely key in terms of making sure that, you know, you can write the best ad copy in the world, but if that ad copy is not going to the correct landing page, then your users aren't going to get the right experience. They might not actually buy from you because of what you're advertising. 2 seconds, then you're going to annoy people. It's not going to work. It's not going to help. The next one is USPs. Now, unique selling points are something that we mentioned to get in the ad text to basically highlight who you are, what the product is, what, you know, everyone knows what a USP is, but it's absolutely key to pick the most relevant ones to the particular keyword that you're writing the ad about. So unique selling point is something that is absolutely key to being included in the ad. And the second C that we've got is creativity. Now, from a creativity perspective, that kind of comes in 2 main guises. That's kind of, if you think about the first one is kind of realizing who you are in terms of what your business is, the message that you want to convey. Now, that could be the fact that you are, the example I often use, like, you know, like a surfboard client, just to kind of totally stereotype the whole surfboard community as being very laid back and chilled out. Your ad text there could be a little bit more chatty, a little bit more, like I say, laid back and cool. The second part of that is, let's say, flip that on its head and say you are a solicitor or you're working, you know, in law, something like that. You can't be having sort of, you know, cheap and cheerful ad text that's kind of really floaty and flowery. It's got to be kind of more business-like, more professional, more straight to the point. So creativity is absolutely important. And the final one, just on Cluck, is keyword richness. Now, this is absolutely hugely important to things like quality score, which helps. Something we'll look at in a second, but quality score in terms of, you know, where your bid is and where you show in the auction. Making sure your keyword is in the ad is one of the best things that you can do from a writing good ad copy perspective. So, as I mentioned, we're going to use sort of case studies this one, but just before we get to that, I just want to show you this example ad text. So this ad text is one of our clients, New Cakes. We've got the case studies to show in just a second. This is the search term, birthday cake delivery. It's got the word delivery in there and delivered in there a couple of times. It's obviously got birthday cake in there. What it also does is, you see, every first letter is capitalized. It also has a couple of other things, which is, we didn't get a chance to mention there, but the extensions, which is really good. It's a good ad copy. It's in sort of everything's uniformed, and it's you know, it's an outstanding bit of ad text. Now, The reason I mentioned New Cakes is that, as you can see there, we managed to get New Cakes shortlisted for no fewer than 4 awards, which is really great. And you'll notice that actually UK and internationally, we had these guys shortlisted at the UK Search Awards 2019 for, as you can see, a 6 months into our management of their account, there was a 62% decrease in cost and over 421% increase in return on ad spend. So this is something that we take a lot of pride in. When an account comes on board and we say, oh, there's a few things that we can work on, increasing them that quickly is something that we're hugely fond of. James, you want to mention something there? Sorry.
Sorry, Matthew. Sorry to rudely interrupt you there. So in regards to like reducing costs and also like increasing profitability and ultimately sales, how does good ad copy really kind of go with that one? Because it might not make overly a lot of sense in that respect. So could you kind of go over that bit for me, please?
Absolutely, yeah. So to give everyone a bit of background and perspective there, having good ad copy, I mentioned quality score earlier, having good ad copy is absolutely essential to improving that quality score. What quality score is essentially the better your quality score is, the cheaper your cost per click, the better you are, the more likely you are to show higher in the auction for the particular keyword that you're bidding on. So in New Cakes' case, in this instance, it was a case of increasing their quality score, decreasing their cost, as you can see, and with that we saw better quality traffic, which led to a better return ad spend in their account. So next up, we have picking your audience. So to move on from ad copy to essentially ensuring that the right person sees your ads. So you can write the best ads in the world, but if it's not getting in front of the right people, then that's not great. Now this is done through monitoring traffic, in terms of managing who doesn't see the ads, in terms of excluding the wrong types of traffic. But also when we're talking about audiences, you can create and utilize Google Ads' audiences and Analytics' audience. Now, how they work, just to give everyone a little quick breakdown, you have Analytics audiences where within Google Analytics, you can build audiences, and you have inbuilt ones in Google Ads platform itself, so Google's audience lists. Now, there's a whole range of different things that you can do. Affinity audiences, live event audiences, in-market audiences are one that I'm going to focus on just briefly, which is inbuilt Google Ads audiences that Google knows that, let's say, for example, James is looking to buy a new pair of trainers. If that person knows he's in the market, if Google knows that he is in the market for, in this instance, trainers, there is a particular audience that we can use for apparel and sort of sneakers and that sort of thing, that we can kind of re-market to our user, James, and get our ads shown to him at a more relevant rate. So audiences are a really cool way of making sure that we engage and re-engage with the right types of people. The analytics ones I mentioned a little bit more manual. You have to create them a little bit more yourself. You have to go in, use them based on a couple of different things, time on site and things like that. But you can be as creative as you want with them. And the one I want to mention with audiences is Little Life. Now you can see again, we had these guys submitted for a couple of award entries as well, UK Search Awards last year and the UK Biddable Media Awards this year, which is really cool. And the Little Life example is something that we're really fond of, because it's a really different sort of success story that we saw with these guys in terms of the award shortlist. You can see there was a 228% increase in conversions and a 54% increase in revenue. But that doesn't really tell a full story. What's really cool and interesting here is that we used audiences with people that had bought previously, and then re-engage with them, knowing their life cycle. So someone that had previously bought something 3 or 6 months ago, we then re-engage with them with particular ads using if statements and really cool little things that re-engage with the users to bring them back on site. It was a really cool one. Jenny did a fantastic job with this, one of our senior account managers, and it's a fascinating bit of insight as to how you can use the right audiences. In this instance, Jenny used analytics ones based on users' behavior to bring them back and to re-engage with them. So really fascinating, that one. As I said, making sure the right people see your ads is just as good as having the right ad copy. The next section to jump into is utilising peak seasons. Now, obviously we're midway through October, we're getting towards November, December, so Black Friday, Christmas sales, that sort of thing. And this is really key for this time of year. Now, what we're focusing on here is capitalising on increased traffic and increased demand. So it's vitally important, as I say, it's vitally important to make sure that your ads are great, that you're showing to the right people, but also that you match your ambition for peak seasons with 3 of the following. So we've got suitable budget. Now, this is something that sometimes maybe goes under the radar a little bit when people, especially for existing advertisers, you know, okay, we've got Black Friday coming up, we've got Christmas coming up. We need to think about budget. We need to think that actually, if we're spending 5-10K a month, on average, if our peak time of year is coming up, we're going to need to spend 20, 30, 40, 50% more, sometimes 100% more of what we would normally spend in any given month. So making sure you've got a suitable budget is absolutely essential. The next one is add text that reflects the time of year. So this links to the first case study point we mentioned, but it's little things like, as I showed you an example with New Cakes, they have a little offer saying 20% back to school. So little things just to entice the user in, Black Friday, Christmas, New Year sale, whatever it might be, just to make sure that ad text is up to date with where we are seasonally. There's nothing worse than seeing an ad that's 3-4 months out of date in terms of what it's offering. Final thing is using merchant promotions if you are using shopping. Now, where Google Shopping is concerned, you have the functionality within Merchant Center to create a merchant promotion. And most of you guys probably have seen this in the shopping tab. You'll see a little 10% off, 20% off. And this is something that is really, really essential just to, you know, especially if you've got multiple competitors around you also running sales, you need to be showing your potential customers that you too have something to offer, a USP, something that's in there that draws them into clicking on your ad. Now, the example that we're going to use in the case study here is New Era Caps. New Era had a superb Black Friday last year. We're hoping they're going to have another brilliant Black Friday this year. But New Era Caps, some of you will have heard of. We used a lot of in-house tech. We used Google Smart Bidding, and the stats really do speak for themselves. So taking on both of New Era's UK and EU accounts was something that we looked at and thought it's going to be good, it's exciting, but in fairness, we absolutely smashed it. As you can see, we increased return ad spend in the UK account by 68%. And what we did to achieve that was to optimize their shopping feed a little bit for Black Friday. So we were aware of the seasonality, we were aware of how people were going to be searching. We tweaked little bits of their shopping feed, and you can see some really, really cool stats there, increasing in sales both in the UK and in their EU accounts as well. For me, this is one of the things that Glenn, our account manager here, when he took this on board, it was something that we identified as being, because of who New Era are, as something that's been absolutely important to make sure that they absolutely capitalise on this time of year when it's, you know, gift buying, present buying season. So this one is something that we're really, really proud of, something that speaks volumes with the stats, and something that, you know, as big a client as New Era are, really, really big fan of that. Now, the final little thing that we're going to focus on is smart bidding. Where smart bidding is concerned, we are essentially thinking about and approaching this from a task management and efficiency perspective. So as it says there, bidding smarter with smart bidding. If you could delegate a task which would result in potentially better results, then why would you not do that? So to give you a bit of information on what smart bidding is, Google's smart bidding is real-time bidding, which is based on thousands and thousands of signals, which are actually calculated in a split second, which enter you into the auction based on the targets that you give Google. So I'll kind of give a bit more background on the next slide, but how it works is it'll enter you into the auction. You give it a target of, let's say, 1,000% return ad spend, and it will enter you into them auctions, or into the auctions that are applicable to you if it feels that the user that's searching is likely to convert at that particular return on ad spend. And the final little thing I mentioned in there is it's no longer the future, it's the now. And the reason I mention that is because it was talked of for so long in our industry, in the Google Ads industry, as agencies and stuff. It was talked of something that was going to be up and coming. It was something that was going to be, you know, everyone needs to start thinking about smart bidding, but actually it's no longer something that you can talk about thinking about. It's something you need to be engaging with now. So if you are an existing advertiser and you're not using smart bidding, then really you need to be thinking about that and really think about engaging with it. And I'm kind of going to explain the context of it here. You can approach the task and do it manually. So what we're talking about is bidding with keywords or shopping item IDs and doing them manually and adjusting bids. Now that takes a lot of time, and it's something that you have to learn how to do correctly. You can easily make mistakes. The flip side of it though is, like I said, using Google Smart Bidding, which oftentimes eliminates human error. Oftentimes what it does is it helps you focus, I was mentioning about efficiency earlier, helps you focus on other areas of account management that can really lead to things better, like strategy and analysis, and just doing a little bit more for, in our case, for the client. And so the final little thing to focus on here, to finish on, I suppose, is that we approach it as from an element of working smarter, not necessarily harder. Now, that's not to be confused as being lazy, absolutely not. But what it is a case of, if we can invest time into smart bidding, which allows us to actually, in the first place, yes, we need to, like I say, invest a bit of time, but then we have that time freed up, and we have more time for communication, further analysis and strategy, then we feel like we can offer our clients a much better service. Now, the final little thing to finish on with this one, where smart bidding is concerned, is this year, I've already mentioned the UK Biddable Media Awards. We were shortlisted for the best use of automation. And this one, we can't name the client names that are under an NDA, but we can share the success. We actually won at the UK Biddable Media Awards for the best use of automation. So using smart bidding for the particular client that won, we saw great success in their account. They saw great success, and that was down to us utilising smart bidding for their particular industry. Really fascinating. It's something that I've championed for probably 18, 24 months now. And it's much better now than it ever has been. So as I say, if it's something that you've maybe considered in the past, if you are an existing advertiser, then you need to get on board with it. It's no longer the future. It's something that's happening now, and smart bidding is absolutely going nowhere. So I'm going to open it up to, we've got sort of 5-6 minutes left to spare. I don't know if, James, you wanted to add anything at that point, but I'm going to open this up to questions.
Not from me, Matthew. No, it's I'm quite eager to. There's been some brilliant questions coming from the guys here. I know Ashley's going to mediate that for us, so it's it'd be good to get through them. To be fair, it's we'll get more value from me waffling on anyway.
Brilliant. Well, just before I get on to questions, obviously, thanks very much for your time. Lots of great feedback in the chat for that one. So Matthew and James, thank you for that. I'll get on to questions. I saw a really good one just on your point. Actually, I'll do it in chronological order. So at the start, Andrea asks, with regards to the example you showed with the PPC ad and capitalisation at the start of every word, why is that important?
You know what? It's something that has been an industry standard pretty much since Google Ads was kind of invented and came about. And it's all it is to just show a little bit of to make that stand out a bit. To you know, if the organic results and the SEO doesn't have that, and the Google Ads do, or you know, the paid search advertising does, it just makes them stand out. It makes it all look uniform. It's just, and I know it's not how we would normally write things, but it's just an industry standard. Now, who's to say that you might not, I suppose, want to try varying it up? But we recommend, and it's actually in some of the Google exams, when you do your exam qualifications with Google, that is the correct way to write ad text. So it's kind of just an industry standard, and yeah, it's something that we see work all the time.
Okay,
would just to interject on that one, just a quick one, would quality score be affected if you wouldn't use capitalisation, Matthew?
Not necessarily. I don't think they factor that into to a degree, but what they would do just on that one is if you do sort of do excessive capitalization. So if you were to write, you know, shop now in capital letters, you know, shouting at people, then that would get an ad disapproved, which would obviously affect the quality score. But in terms of the individual capitalization, it might affect your click-through rate, which longer term could affect your quality score, but that was something you would have to trial. I wouldn't risk it. I would always go for the first letter capitalized.
Yeah, cool.
Great, thanks. Good answer. Couple of questions on smart bidding. I'm going to try and cover them off. We're limited on time, so one of our attendees has got they're running smart bidding campaigns against manual cost per click campaigns with no tangible results of that test, as in some are outperforming using smart bidding, some are outperforming using manual CPC. You know, can you share some light on that? Because it doesn't seem to be consistent in their testing, and why might that be?
Oh, how long have we got? That one could be due to a few different factors.
Yeah, it could be numerous things, but it is a good question. Like
priority settings, if it's shopping, it could be different priority settings. It could be the different products that are serving. It could be to do with I want to double check the attribution model and the conversion action and things like that. That one is very much a case of we would need quite a bit of time. So what I would probably suggest is if you guys, if whoever asked that question, sorry, to get in touch with us, and we could run you through maybe why that might be the case. It's probably not fair to answer that in its full extent and to sort of limit other people, but yeah, it's a very, very extensive answer, that one, I think.
Yeah.
And I think this might go to sort of similar, but try your best to answer. And if it is the same thing, then please get in touch with Mabo, put yes, please in the chat, and I'll make sure your contact details are shared, and you can discuss that with them. But there's a few people in the chat and via the question and answer who haven't used Google Ads extensively before. They're asking, firstly, what sort of budget do you need to really kick things off? And then secondly is, I've lost track of that question. Well, start with what sort of budget do you need to start with?
Yeah, the budget is something that you have to decide and be comfortable with yourself. We, in terms of certain management agencies and things like that, then, we have, certain management agencies have retainers and sort of fees and stuff. But if you were to do it in-house yourself, then it's kind of what you can afford, really. You've got to bear in mind, though, is one of the biggest things you've got to bear in mind is what can you afford to spend and what do you need to make? What particular return on spend target is it that you have? So, in terms of who we are and what we're charging, things like that, that would depend on what you're spending. But in terms of you managing it yourself, give it a go. As long as you can afford to maybe try it for a couple of months, but you also, I suppose, need to know what you want out of it. Then, like I say, give it a go. I mean, James, I think I'm kind of approaching that from an in-house perspective rather than an agency perspective.
For me, with anybody starting any kind of marketing budget at all, whether that's Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever you're doing, I'd always reverse engineer in regards to, okay, how much is the sale worth to my business? How much am I willing to pay for that sale so it doesn't eat into my profits? And then look at, okay, I need so many sales per month. So let's say, for example, I'm selling my products at £200. I'm happy to pay £50 for my products for my sale, and I want 100 sales for a month. Work it in that way, and then work your budget for that. That's the best way I'd recommend doing it. If you want to give something a try, I'd recommend trying something with a smaller budget. Yes, say, do you know what? I want to put £100 into Google Ads, or say £500 into Google Ads. I'm happy to get 3 inquiries off that because I know I'll convert one of them, and that will equate to a certain amount of business for my revenue for my business. Do it that way, then you can start building it up. But one thing I'd always kind of keep an eye on at all times is if you're an e-commerce business, cost per sale, return on ad spend is a main metric. I'd look at that one. But if you are, you're looking to generate telephone inquiries, online inquiries for like lead generation, such as we do for our business, it's how much are you willing to pay for a lead, because you know how much that will equate to in business for yourself. So budget is completely up to you, but working it that way.
It's got to work for you ultimately.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well answered. Really quick one, and I think you're going to answer this for me in probably one word, but aside from Google, should we be focused on other search engines?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So very quickly, just to interject, you've got Microsoft Ads, which is a brilliant platform. I appreciate we focused on Google Ads today. Other search advertising platforms are available. Microsoft Ads has around about 20% of the worldwide share, maybe 10 to 15% in the UK. But we are a Microsoft Advertising Select Agency partner. They're a brilliant company, Microsoft. I appreciate they're a little bit smaller than Google, but absolutely do consider Microsoft Ads as well.
I'd say as well, if your product or services do attract to an older demographic as well, you need to be on Microsoft Ads. You really do. If people using Windows 10 PCs will be searching on Bing without even knowing it. So
just one thing on that as well, just to big up Microsoft. They found that typically that their users are typically a little bit older, as James mentioned, a little bit older than Google Ads users. What that means there is what they found is they often have better disposable income. They found that their users are more educated, and you can often find that people using Microsoft Ads maybe shop around quite as much as maybe on Google. So absolutely get on Microsoft Advertising as well. So
that's really interesting, because I expected, it shows how much I know. I expected you just go, no, Google's the way forward. That's where everyone does that. And you went, yes. I was like, oh, okay, fine. So I'm learning something as well.
I mean, honestly, as a marketer, I'd be advertising on Google, Microsoft, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads. If your audience is there, go for it. Give everything a try.
Look, we've gone over by 1 minute, and we've got to talk again in 50. No, please don't apologise. The talks stimulated so much discussion via the chat and Q&A, and it was so well presented that I think it might warrant a follow-up, maybe in a different format, sort of discussing in workshop format what people are asking, because there's so many tangents to this. So it would be great to have you guys back, and I hope you'll be willing to.
Be good to do a discussion panel for sure. Yeah, I think it'd be good.
Definitely love that.
Great. So look, Matthew, James, thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge there. That was great. On behalf of everyone watching, we thank you. To everyone watching, thanks for taking your time to tune in. We've got another webinar talking about social media and social advocacy presented by Soakell in about 15 minutes time, and you should have an invite to that in your emails. I'm just going to leave this chat open for whilst James and Matthew may leave, for anyone to put yes please if you would like their goodie bag, and I suggest you do. They're obviously sharing great information, and I can pass your details over to receive the goodies inside of that. But really, my last thing is just to say thanks again.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Cheers.